Everyone. I am Prachi Pasalkar, Program Manager at Pune Knowledge Cluster. I welcome everyone to today's talk on maybe probably the most searched topic on Google, that is ChatGPT. And we have Dr. Yogesh Kulkarni with us for the talk. To give a brief introduction about PKC, it is an organization established by Principal Scientific Advisors Office to Government of India. We are one of the 6 science and technology clusters in our country. PKC is hosted by Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, popularly called as IUCA Pune. Our aim is to act as an enabler. We bring various types of organizations, industries, academia, NGO, research institutes, civic bodies, citizens together for the betterment of city, state, and at a national level, leveraging the science and technology strengths. We work across 5 verticals: health, sustainability, sustainable mobility, big data and AI, and capacity building. One of our key verticals is capacity building, through which we aim to upskill youth, working professional students on new age skills that are important for employment, research, various science and technology based areas. For more details, please do visit our website. The link will be given in the chat box soon. So that is about PKC, and coming to today's talk, I would now request Professor Ajit Kebari, former director of IUCA and principal investigator of Pune Knowledge Cluster, to kindly introduce our speaker for the day. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prachi. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very happy to introduce Dr. Yogesh Kulkarni, who is this afternoon's speaker. So he's a principal architect at the CTO office of a company called Icertis. So this company deals with contract analysis, and it's one of the foremost appliers of NPL to the various situations. And Icertis was kind enough to conduct a course for PKC right in the beginning of the journey of the PKC. Yogesh Kulkarni has professional experience of more than 20 years in computer-aided design and engineering research, software development and management. He has bachelor's, master's and doctoral degrees in mechanical engineering. He specialized in geometric modeling algorithms. Currently, he's working on legal text mining products using machine and deep learning and natural language processing, which is known as NLP. So I have known Yogesh for some years now, but in the context completely different from AI. So we go to the same fitness class, and I'm an occasional goer there now. Number one. Number two, every morning between 5:45 and 6 a.m. Not every morning, but few times a week, we meet in Panchoti where we both live, and he's jogging or running and I'm walking. So Yogesh, we are greatly looking forward to your talk. And over to you now.
Thank you, Dr. Kimberly, and thanks to PKC for the opportunity. I'll dive right in. As Prachi mentioned, this is the most searched topic on Google now, ChatGPT. But you'll probably see whether you will Google it or not towards the end of the lecture, because there is some threat to Google as well. So assuming that the audience would be rather mixed, meaning some of you may not have background needed to understand ChatGPT, that is AI, ML, that is machine learning, deep learning, and NLP. I thought I should divide this talk into 2 parts. So first part of the talk is regarding these background terminologies or technologies, so that we'll have a fair understanding of what is meant by AI, ML, DL, and NLP, so that in the second half, when I talk about ChatGPT and use some terminologies, those will be sort of clear. Of course, the depth won't come, but sort of clear, so that we can understand the second part well. So that's why I titled this talk as Zero to ChatGPT. It's not with some assumption. But even for zero to that, I'm assuming at least college level mathematics and science background. So the first part is actually from 0 to GPT, and the second part is ChatGPT. What GPT is, I'll explain. By the way, at some logical points, I will wait for you to ask me questions. And of course, towards the end, we will have Q&A. I also teach at a College of Engineering, Pune. So in between, I will also ask you questions. So you can quickly mute and then answer at those logical points. This is a famous dialogue in a movie. If you can guess the movie, Houston, we have a problem. Of course, that context is different. The movie is Apollo 13, when those guys were planning to come back to Earth, and there was a problem. But there's another problem which is there in the world now, that for any talk, for any conference speech, for even a small talk, even group discussion, people often use words like disruption, I'm passionate, I'm excited. And unless you use word innovation for any subject, nowadays this is big fog. And then you need not be technical or in a scientific kind of conversation. It can be political and social also. Everywhere this innovation thing is happening. Apart from that, there's another word that is pretty predominant use everywhere. And that word would be AI, right? Artificial intelligence. Right from art, music, to of course scientific areas, word AI has entered, and it has entered more so in last few years. By the way, AI was there right from 1950s, but it has gone popularity these days. So everywhere there is AI, and when I say every company, most companies are claiming they're working in AI. Don't know what that is, right? So are they really working in AI/ML? What is all AI/ML first all about? Is there something which is not AI, or is it just a big hype, a marketing gimmick, or a PR activity? So first half, I'll talk about clarifying these terms, and then of course build up on that in my second part. So basically, what is the core idea behind AI ML? For matter, many things like problem solving or even writing algorithms, doing some research. The core idea, in my opinion, is to find a function. Of course, this function has a mathematical connotation. We are trying to find a relationship. We are trying to find a transformation between what? Between inputs and outputs. So basically, for solving a problem, we know certain things. There are some inputs. We know what the desired output would be. And then we'll do some research, write some algorithms, and try to come up with this transformation from inputs to outputs. This transformation I will loosely call as model. This is a proper term or a scientific term used in AI, ML, and deep learning more. So there's nothing but as a mathematical model or a neural network model. So roughly, it decides how to convert input from output. That's it. So the whole idea of problem solving is to find this function or a model. And many of these functions, I mean, you are quite aware of many real life functions. So real life functions, some simple functions, I would say, the now summer is coming up, right? As the temperature goes up, the ice cream sales will go up. So this is a function, right? It's a function between temperature and sales. And there could be many. So if you study hard, you will get good marks. Right? Input and output. Now, to what factor that relationship is actually function. But many real life functions or phenomena are not these simplistic or not deterministic. Deterministic meaning for this input, you will always get this output. That's not the case in many cases. Some are probabilistic. You may get this, you may get that as well, based on chance. Some are non-linear. So if you want to get marks from 80% to 90%, you study this much. But from 90% to 100%, that much study may not be sufficient. You may have to work a little more. It is non-linear also. Some of the functions, other functions that I've mentioned here, looking at just the tumor picture, whether this tumor is benign or malignant. Benign meaning not harmful, malignant is harmful. Another example that we consider as very complex is we are playing chess, and at certain position in the chess, what would be the next move? What is the input to this problem? The input to the chessboard, the current position, and desired output. Of course, we know, but we have to win. What would be the next move that will make me closer to the winning? So, as probably you've got the idea now, we're trying to deal with complex functions everywhere. There are inputs, there are desired outputs, and the whole job is to find this function, this transformation, this relationship. And there are, of course, many ways. People have been attacking this finding function problem mathematically, writing software, many ways. ML, AI, ML, and DL, that is deep learning, are one of the ways of finding this function. So we will go back to our chess example. To decide the next move, what do you need? Of course, you need to be very, very intelligent, right? And you need extreme expertise, or else anybody and everybody can be a grandmaster. That's not the case. You need intelligence. Now, I'm slowly coming to the word intelligence. Of course, I'll superficially explain it. And how do you get that intelligence? Of course, intelligence has many aspects, but for this specific example, I would say to be a more intelligent, better chess player, you typically must have practiced a lot. You must have seen hundreds or thousands of games in the past, isn't it? So that past games that you have studied or practiced is what is called as data. Okay. So to be intelligent in this specific case, you have to learn the data, learn the past, so that you can apply that knowledge to predict the next move. I'm using now some specific terms. So humans also learn from past to predict the future. So this is what we call as human intelligence, isn't it? Now, if machines meaning software in this case, or a program, starts doing the same thing like humans do. Like if it starts playing chess, writing poetry, driving car, doing translation, if it can use the past data, past experiences, and predict the next things, it is almost acting like a human intelligence, right? So that's what, at least superficially for this talk, I will call as artificial intelligence. So the intelligence similar to what humans have, shown by a program or a software, would be called as artificial intelligence. So far, the whole background was, what is AI? AI is nothing but a program or a software or some automation which mimics human intelligence, and it uses data to learn something, tries to predict the future or predict the outcome or come up with the outcome. That's the idea. So that's AI now. So we are done with AI portion. But now there are a few other terms which people use synonymously. Artificial intelligence, AI, ML, machine learning, DL, deep learning. They are used synonymously, but these are not synonymous, meaning they are not interchangeable. So this is the picture. AI is actually a very broad field. You can have everything that mimics human intelligence. Machine learning is sub part of it. It is some subset of it, where we use data to form relationship, and that is without explicitly programming. I'll touch upon that. And deep learning is again subset of machine learning. So this relationship should be very clear. So it is subset relationship. So everything is AI. Some is machine learning, and some of it. Deep learning is typically with what is called as neural networks, typically. So this is the relationship. So at least from now onwards, whenever you are speaking regarding these topics, be little more careful which terms are we specifically using. Okay, so this is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. I'll explain these things with an example. Okay, what is machine learning? Again, very similar. So if you're preparing for exam, there are of course two ways where very studious students will right from the day one of the semester start studying concepts and other things. So there are people probably like me who will just wait for the last month, study past papers, what's likely to come. So and question and answers, and based on that, learn the whole thing, almost close to what is called as mugging up, and then solve the unseen test. So I would at least superficially say machine learning does the same. It looks at all the things in the past in the data, tries to understand the pattern. And if a similar pattern comes to the unseen test, it has ready answer. This concept is important because ChatGPT almost does the same thing. I'll explain that. So this is how machine learning is done. So what is machine learning? It learns a function without being explicitly programmed. You don't write the steps. What to do with this data, what to do this, find this pattern, find that pattern. No. You just give the data, it tries to apply some logic and tries to find pattern. So without being explicitly programmed is the key. And good part is, as you feed in more data, more experiences, it again reevaluates and finds more patterns and becomes better and better. More the data, merrier it is, better it is for machine learning. Let's take one example. I'll delve a little bit more on this. Assume that you want to predict somebody's income, okay, or salary. A typical factors that come to mind are how much of education that person has and how much professional experience, right? So if he has got so what a PhD degree plus 5 years of experience, then this salary could be this. Simple prediction that we want to write. Very simplistic relationship could be the one that I've shown here. So it can be some factor, some weightage into education plus some weightage into experience, number of years of experience. That C beta 0 beta, you forget for me. Basically weights or coefficients, isn't it? So this is a very simplistic relationship. Now the question is, how do I get those coefficients, these beta zeros, beta ones and all? So machine learning way of solving this problem is, the problem, as I'll repeat, is to find somebody's income or salary based on education and experience. Right? It's a very difficult problem actually, because you might have guessed few things and guesses may be correct, may not be correct in this. So machine learning way of doing things is look at the past, meaning get hundreds of examples, like a table, right? So this guy has this much education, this much experience, his salary was this. Second guy, same thing. Third guy, same thing. Hundreds of such examples. Now, with this data, which is what is called as golden data, is labeled data. We know everybody's salary and education and experience. Now, can we find out this relationship? Meaning, can we find out these weights? C, beta 0, beta 1. If by some magic, if we find these weights, formula is known, right? Then for any new guy whose education is known to you and experience is known to you, you just plug in those values here and get the income, get the salary. That's it, right? So the whole idea of finding this function or relationship is to find weights, isn't it? It boils down to that. And for that, to arrive at those weights, we of course need lots of examples. A simplistic example would be, say we have hundreds of examples. Now, some idea would be try W1, meaning beta 0 and beta 1 has some values, say 1, 2. see if it matches to many of these past examples. Probably not. Change it a bit. See which one matches. So now with this such process, I won't delve into mathematics of it, how it is done. We will come up with such beta zeros and beta 1 and C so that it matches most of the examples that I had in past. Then I say, okay, now I've got good beta zeros and beta 1s and Cs. Once I'm satisfied, meaning the solution has converged, then I declare that this is my equation. Okay, so far, I think okay. This is critical. So I think I'll wait here for a question. So far it is clear we are trying to find the function. Here the inputs are education and experience. Output is income or salary. And finding function meaning finding weights, coefficients. And to find coefficient, we want past data, using which we will come up with this weights. And once weights are known, the problem is solved. Yeah, I will wait. If Prachi or Shraddha, if there are any questions in the chat, you may. If not, I'll move on.
Yeah, you can move ahead. I think we don't have any questions.
Maybe towards the end.
Yeah.
No. Okay. If things are clear so far, assuming things are clear so far, now the basic premise here is that I have specified education and experience in terms of numbers. Experience is no. So I have 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience. That is really number. Okay, that's given. But education, can I put education as, say, BTech, a string, a word BTech, or a word PhD? How can you multiply beta 0 with string meaning characters? You cannot, right? So a basic premise here is that for machine learning or finding relationship, because we are doing multiplication mathematical operations, everything has to be numbers. Unless those are numbers, we cannot multiply. We cannot multiply a word PhD into 2, right? So that doesn't make sense. So somehow we'll have to convert those degrees to the BTech, whatever MTech, PhD, to some number. A very simplistic scheme could be BTech is 1, MTech is 2, PhD is 3. Okay, go ahead. But some way we have to convert text to numbers. Now this is again a very important concept because converting text to numbers is a premise or basic prerequisite towards GPT, which again gets morphed to ChatGPT. Okay, so two things: we're trying to find relationship, we're trying to find weights, and all these input variables have to be numbers. Then only we can do these calculations. Simple. Okay. Then what's the difference between what we were doing as a normal software programmer, writing a swap program, writing sorting algorithm, and then this machine learning? This is the most important slide, although it's very simplistic. Traditional programming, say if you want to predict rain, okay, what will happen tomorrow? You have two variables, pressure and whatever, humidity today and then temperature today. So somebody must have done this mathematical modeling. So in a traditional programming, I'll write a function, take inputs as humidity and temperature, do some calculation based on mathematical modeling available in research papers or write that logic and say return rain. Rain meaning amount of rain that will happen. So this is the first part. You give data, you write program also, and that computer will run this program and give you on. But machine learning is different. I think I've explained. Machine learning, you give inputs as well as outputs and let computer, meaning machine learning, figure out the program. Can you see the difference is diametrically opposite? You provide that these were the humidity and temperature numbers in the past, and that time rain was 5 millimeters. For another set of two values, rain was 10 millimeters. So past hundreds of thousands of such examples, if you feed in, this program finds those weights. Again, I'm coming back to the same relationship. Weights is one way of doing it, but for this talk, maybe that's the one. It's a linear relationship. Just weights into humidity plus another weight into temperature. So that's a very simplistic question. So in machine learning, you don't explicitly write algorithm, but you just provide input and output, and the algorithm and machine learning figures out which weights would be most suitable here, or which structure would be most suitable. So this is the difference. Why machine learning these days?
Dr. Kulkarni, we have a question in the chat box. Would you like to take that at this point?
I'll finish this much
Okay.
and then take up those questions.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Why machine learning now? I think so far we saw just very simplistic equations, right? Predicting income from education and experience, just two variables. Predicting rain, again, just two variables. But in practice, all these complex problems that we talked about a little earlier can have hundreds of variables, thousands of variables. Probably weather prediction model probably has 1,600 variables to decide if it will rain tomorrow or not. So this is what is called as high dimensionality problems. Solving this by human way is completely impossible. You can imagine. You probably can work out with just 2 columns or 3 variables, but hundreds of variables is definitely difficult. So by machine learning? Machine learning can work on this high dimensional problem, more number of variables of problem, where it is extremely difficult to do it manually. Another thing, third statement is little rigorous and has mathematical connotation. Some techniques like neural networks can model any function. That any is very important. Given enough data, what does it mean? Whatever complex your relationship between input and output may be, this guy says that I can model it, meaning I can find out the relationship, given, of course, there's a caveat, enough data. That enough probably is never enough, but still. And the last reason of learning machine learning is, of course, there is money involved. You get jobs. So far we saw the whole idea of problem solving is finding function, relationship. Then we slowly understood what is AI. And then now machine learning. One more terminology, deep learning. And then, of course, we will stop the first session, get questions, and then move on to few other things. The real crux of the talk today, ChatGPT. Slight difference. I won't delve too much into it. Say if you are writing a program, looking at the picture, whether this is a car or a bus. In machine learning, you have to give some example, some what are called as features, some variables apart from input or as input. So in this picture, does it have 4 small circles or 4 big circles? Something like that. Does it have curved body? Something like that. Then this is what is called as feature extraction, which is typically a manual activity. So feature extraction is manual or done by expert. Then it goes to classification. Then we decide whether it is a car or not. But in deep learning, which is typically neural network based, you just feed in raw input as it, and it learns the feature extraction also. But if you don't follow this slide too much, that's fine. Basically, inputs and output both are given, and the neural network or the relationship that you're seeing in the middle, these are nothing but weights. How to multiply each other, that is learned. Deep learning is of course when data is unstructured, lots of data is available, so on and so forth. I will probably skip this. Okay. Now, I alluded to one point that for finding a function, we need everything in the numbers, or else machine learning cannot occur. We cannot do mathematical computation. So assuming you are solving a problem, what is called, let's say, sentiment analysis. So you have tweets, thousands of tweets. Tweets is nothing but this small character, 1 or 2 sentences, maybe 4 or 5 sentences, at least earlier 140 characters. And you have to declare whether this tweet is positive or negative. Simple problem. And then we work on these problems day in and out. So given a text piece, whether this is a positive thing mentioned in the tweet or a negative thing mentioned in it. This is a typical machine learning problem, right? You have thousands of such examples. You want to build what is called as classifier, which will take a tweet and classify whether it is a positive tweet or a negative tweet. Right? Now the question arises, you have a sentence. It is in the word, in form of characters, just words. How can I build a classifier? Because the whole idea is I want numbers. Then only I can do matrix multiplication, those weights multiplication, right? And then come out with 0 or 1, yes or no. Right? Now there's a big branch within machine learning or other domain called NLP. Dr. Kimberly mentioned about it, natural language processing. And the core idea within NLP is given this text, how to convert it to numbers in a nice way, better way, so that you can give it to machine learning for classification. A couple of more slides on that, then I'll close the first session. Now, given this, say I want to find what should I put number for banking. This is the word banking. Now you would say in English dictionary there are 3 million words. What is the index of it? Banking is probably 3,000 words. Just give that number. That is a very crude way. There has to be some more sophisticated, because say there is a word banking and there is a word say finance. These are sort of related, but in dictionary they could be apart, isn't it? So the meaningness, the semanticness of the conversion from text to word is lost. If you go by dictionary, so there are very sophisticated ways of converting text to numbers. So once we have, say for banking, of course, this could be another talk, how to convert text to numbers. For banking, assume that we get a nice vector representation. Vector representation meaning numbers. Now, for a sentences, for all words, you can have similar vectors, and simplistic way of the sentence vector would be just average them, right, or add them out, whatever. So that now for each sentence you have a vector. Now once you have vector for each language, each sentence, machine learning is added. Again, as everybody is probably waiting for ChatGPT, but this needs to be mentioned, or else things would be rather difficult. So once we have numbers, a very simplistic problem here, that then we can solve is, say, sequence to sequence problem, like machine translation, right? You want to write a translator, say from English to French. You'll have word vectors for English and say word vectors for French. Now what you have to do, you have to pass in these words one by one, do some calculations on the way, and then start spitting out French vector. How do you train such model? You give hundreds of pairs. This English sentence corresponding to this French statement, so on and so forth. With this, it tries to understand for these kind of words, these French words were used, isn't it? This is what is called as encoder-decoder architecture. So unless once you have word vectors, using those, we can build this sequence to sequence, because language is a sequence, encoder-decoder kind of architecture. Now things may not be very, very clear now because I've not explained, but these two words are very important because they are directly relevant to ChatGPT. So this is nothing but a machine translation like example. Input language, output language. These architectures, encoder and decoder, are getting more sophisticated these days. And there is a family of architectures called transformers. Almost encoder decoder like architecture, but with more layers here and there. And GPT is one type of a transformer, decoder only, but one type of a transformer. This slide actually shows some names. Some of you may be familiar with this. At least BERT is rather more popular, and GPT is, of course. So these are transformer architectures. Transformer in the mind, you just keep the encoder decoder like architecture, but GPT is only decoder based. One example here. So far, I think we have covered a lot quickly, rather very hastily. Function, AI, ML, DL, little bit of word vectors, NLP, sequence to sequence, and transformers. Probably this is a semester long course, but still. All right. Now I will just cover a couple of slides. So what is GPT? GPT is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Transformer, I think we just saw. So this transformer is rather huge. It is just not one layer here. 12 layers. Lots of neural network in between, and lots of parameters to go. Why it is generative? It is actually a decoder part. It just, as we saw in the translation, English sentence was fed and French sentences were. Once the training is over, you just need to give a seed to decoder and it starts spitting out. Generative. Pre-trained, it is been pre-trained, and transformer is the transformer architecture I mentioned. I'll cover this up. Yeah. So I will wait for questions now. I think I covered too much in too little time, but still. Now we will start with ChatGPT. Don't worry. Yeah.
So we have a question in the chat box. I'll read it for you.
Yeah.
Can we have a reverse problem, knowing income to be offered? What education and or experience am I looking for?
Okay. So this is of course possible. So in your data, so say you have three columns. So income, education, and experience, right? You can choose either of them also as a target variable. Okay. Now your question is, given one variable, can I predict two variables? Generally not done, but this is what is called as multi-label problem, right? But this is called multi-class, multi-label problems. This is possible, but generally we have problems like many variables and one outcome, one target. But your problem can also be modeled as similar other problems like that with different target variables. So quick answer is yes, possible.
Yes, I think we can continue.
All right.
Yeah.
Now I think things would be rather more non-technical. So for the thing that you all were waiting for is over your ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? It's basically nothing but a chatbot. It's a question answer system. You put in a question, you get the response or answer. In this thing, the question that you are asking is called as prompt. And what you are getting is called as response. And I've used the word language model. I'll explain that word. So it's a language model that takes a prompt and generates a response. Almost like you feed in English sentence and it gives you French sentence, like a translation, almost like a translation. It's built by a company called OpenAI, released a few months back. And then the surprising fact is, to gain 1 million users, Netflix took 3.5 years. Of course, that was in past, so less users. Facebook took 10 months, Spotify 5 months, Insta 3.5 months, and ChatGPT just 5 days. Look at the popularity it gained. Where is it available? This link is probably, most of you may have already played with ChatGPT, but this is the link. Those who are probably living under the rock and do not know about ChatGPT, this is the link. Yeah. So what is language model? I'll give you a very simplistic example. Technically, this is not exactly what happens, but say you're typing SMS on your mobile, right? You're typing, let's go for it. On the top bar, you start getting suggestions, right? You might have seen. And these suggestions are very nice. Many a times these suggestions are useful. How does it generate these suggestions? So this program, that the SMS program, looks at your past messages. In the past, if you had said, let's go for a coffee, right? 15 times. I've given this thing in the text here. And let's go for a movie 4 times. Okay, in the past. So that is data. Based on this data, now that you have typed, let's go for a, what's the likelihood of coming coffee there and a movie there? Coffee there is more, right? So it's more probability, more chance. So that's what it gives in the middle, or suggests you. It also suggests movie also from on the sides somewhere, right? So this activity of looking at what you have typed so far, and predicting next word is called language model. Okay, this term is very useful, and GPT or ChatGPT is based on LLM, large language model. Now, this model that you are just seeing here, SMS, is a small language model. It has just access to say 100 or 200 messages. This is called as corpus in case of machine learning, corpus, meaning data. Just looking at 100 or 200 SMSs or messages, it is trying to predict the next one. Of course, you may not write every time, let's go for it. You may write, why don't we go for a little different. So that pattern may not be available in your 100 SMS. So it may fumble up. It may give something rather different, isn't it? But if you had access, if you had built this program of predicting next word with huge data, huge corpus, say at the scale of all the books in the world, whole Wikipedia, whole internet, if you have looked at all this, finding a nice word, nice next word, this is far better, right? With that kind of corpus. So this is where these large language models are coming. They are trained on huge data, internet scale data, not just big data, huge data, planet scale data. That's why these models are very, very powerful. But the idea is simple, predicting next word. Now you have predicted, let's go for a coffee. Now that coffee that you have predicted goes back. And now the sentence to use for prediction is, let's go for a coffee and the next prediction would be and have some snacks, isn't it? That could be, so it goes on splitting next word and forming a sentence. So although the basic idea is to generate next word, once we do it one after another, it is generating next sentence. It is generating paragraph. It is generating articles, books, isn't it? That's why it is called as generative model, isn't it? So it is generating one by one. So that's why GPT is generative pre-trained model. And these models are very, very complex. I won't go into this evaluation. Just to give you some sense. Okay, you might have heard this term, BERT, Distilbert, Roberta, GPT is coming here. By the way, these numbers are in millions. Don't get bogged down. These are neural network parameters. Just have a sense that these sort of correspond to complexity or the hugeness of the model. Albert is 12 million, and you can see dramatic improvement in last 2-3 models. And the last one is GPT-3. GPT-3 has 175 billion parameters. Huge. That's why it is very, very effective. It knows what to give the next word as very nicely, coherently, almost like a human. So that's why ChatGPT is based on GPT 3.5. Okay, but the parameter wise is almost similar, but the training is a little different. But you can assume for all practical purposes, almost like GPT 3. By the way, who are these OpenAI guys? This is a San Francisco-based company. There is another model that is very famous, DALI, which when you give a sentence, it gives you not the response like a chatbot, but a picture. I think you all should try DALI also, and you can be crazy all about it. Craziness meaning you can say, draw a picture of a rabbit riding on a rocket going to moon. This is a weird sentence, right? But it will still generate a picture out of it. So that's how powerful it is. And the first guy you sort of know now, by the way, he was associated with the OpenAI, not anymore, but he was co-founder to start. This is some idea. I'll quickly rush now so that we can have question and answer. So as we saw, GPT-1 was trained on, say, 7,000 books. GPT-2, 8 million documents. GPT-3, probably whole Wikipedia, many documents, web text. So that's why each version is becoming more and more powerful. By the way, GPT-4 is coming as well. Some differences, subtle differences, GPT-3 and ChatGPT. ChatGPT is just another model, but fine-tuned for conversation. At the base, at the core, it is GPT series only. Maybe I'll quickly go through training, but I think more interesting things would be the examples, how to use it, why to use it, which I will cover little slowly. So there are 3 steps on that go behind training of ChatGPT. By the way, so we have GPT model, which is a very strong language model. It knows English or the human language very well. What to spit out next. Now, if it is fine-tuned on conversation, these conversations, at least in this case of ChatGPT, are human provided. So these are the prompts. These are the answers written by humans. So hundreds of thousands of such examples were used to fine-tune GPT so that it became ChatGPT. Okay, so this is what is supervised fine-tuning. Now, for a question like explain reinforcement learning to a 6-year-old. Okay, what would be a good answer to it? A human only wrote it and provided these pairs, question-answer pairs, for fine-tuning. And this is supervised. So model got updated, fine-tuned with such conversations. Next time, if you ask this question, it has very nice answer already learned, isn't it? That's how. It is fine-tuned on human-provided prompts and answers. Another step is now you may have, for a question, you may have multiple answers, right? People may have provided different answers. It may have generated different answers. Another set of humans were employed while training ChatGPT. These are called rankers. For the same question, if you have got, say, 4 answers, sample answers, humans were employed to rank them. Oh, B looks better, then C looks better, then A looks better. What is the use of it, this ranking? Now it learns what is called as reward model. Oh, D has to be given more reward. Combining both fine-tuning and reward model, when a new sentence comes, write a story about, say, otters. It will first go to SFT or SFT initialized model, find rank, go back, and then optimize. This is what we call as a reinforcement learning, proximal policy optimization. You need not go into this. So it learns to have a better reward all the time with all these samples. So it has been fine-tuned and reward-tuned in that sense, so that it gives very nice answers. Okay. By the way, you have seen the web way probably of using ChatGPT. You write your prompt where you get answers. There's another programmatic way of using it also, using Python or using APIs. But I think we will not go into that. All right. I will stop here for question. Then we'll just look at applications and conclusion. I think you have got at least some idea of what AI, ML, DL, and NLP is, word vectors. What is GPT, what is transformer, and what is GPT, and what is ChatGPT. And now we'll just see some examples.
So we have one more question from
Yeah.
Dr. Salil Gupta. Is
Okay.
ChatGPT or similar models also linked to Google or Wikipedia, or it relies only on known data?
Various companies have various models. Google, of course, has its own model called Lambda and then Bard. It is based on Google, whatever Google has collected. ChatGPT is built on whatever OpenAI has collected so far. So everybody has different corpus, but more or less everybody has access to Wikipedia, these public books. So that would be common to all.
Thank you.
All right. And now you see some interesting examples. You probably have done those yourself, but still we'll quickly go through. Yeah, we still have time. So you can ask very complex definitions or questions. What is neuroscience? Right? And it gives very coherent, human-like response. And now you can be a little creative. If you get homework, we'll check all these questions here and get the answers, submit this homework, right? So more or less all complex questions it answers. By the way, for every example that I'm showing here, you have to have one thing at back of your mind. These answers are there somewhere in Wikipedia or web text or books. It is just fetching them very nicely. If these answers are not publicly known, it won't be able to get it, right? Because it is built on a corpus. Now, if you ask question for which only you know the answers, it won't be able to get it, isn't it? Because it is not publicly available. The advantages and disadvantages we'll see, but try to ask such a question, maybe a homework for you, so that you can break the ChatGPT. But I think we'll go with positive examples. So you can ask complex subjects and it answers. You can ask it to write a program also. Now this is a fairly non-trivial program. Write me a machine learning sample program for stock prediction. Isn't it? If I ask 75 of you here, not many will be able to write, right? But it will give you a ready answer. That import scikit-learn, import numpy, get the load the data set, do test and split, do fit and do predict. Isn't it? It will write a compilable program. For now, to get the pictures, we have to just stop it. But it will write a very nice program, coherent program. Writing code, debugging code. If you paste the code and ask what's going wrong, it will suggest you what's going wrong. Now it's just not technical subjects. Now this guy is asking, how should I promote my YouTube videos on social media? And there are, of course, very nice steps that this ChatGPT has given. Of course, these steps were given by somebody somewhere, isn't it? It is trying to just pull them here nicely for you. Now, another thing, while giving prompt, you need not be open-ended, right? With this program, you can constrain it. Write an article on machine learning in 500 words. No, it is not going to write you pages in. It will just write you approximately 500 words. So you just don't ask prompt, but you can specify the constraints within which you want output. So that's the power of ChatGPT. Another very surprising question: summarize the book Gulliver's Travels. Now look at this question. Now that guy knows of course, there's a book available, Gulliver's Travels somewhere. The whole text is available, and then he will summarize it for you. Another way it could have done it, he might have found ready summary also somewhere, right? And it has just brought it in here. But it understood the question. That's the whole power of ChatGPT. It understood the question and responding very nicely. Again, a very useful question. How to answer the interviewer, what is your view? So such question, I think ChatGPT is free. You just use it to full extent to solve all your problems in life. Of course, not all your problems in life, but problems like these. You get very nice answers. It can develop apps. It can write you how to develop an Android app or whatever, JavaScript app. So it can give you health plan. I'm 95 kgs. I don't want to lose it. Give me 7-day plan. Again, as I mentioned to you, it must have pulled in those answers for similar question in the past. Questions like this. Now, you thought you may ask only what are these interview questions, summary questions, but somebody tried very, very technical question also. HVAC, by the way, is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. By the way, I'm a mechanical engineer, so probably this question and answer. So diagnose a frosted evaporator coil, and it gave possible reasons very coherently, nicely. This could be the another how to fix things also. How to respond to a customer who thinks air conditioning is too expensive. These are the answers. Now, as you can see, these examples are so nicely done. You can use them very effectively in your domain. Okay, to come up with such Q&As, FAQs, and sky is the limit. Yeah. Another thing that one can do for prompts, if you can just constrain the output to a proper format, then it can become actionable. If you give the answers to some hardware, such as Arduino or a small chipset, and trigger some actuations, some actions also. If this, then that kind of pattern. So it is just not language to language, but language, if it is formatted properly, it can become actionable. So these are some of the applications. I will wait here for a question. I think we still have 3 or 4 minutes. Oh, 1 minute left. And then I'll do conclusions. Maybe I'll go over the conclusions and I'll take Q&As.
Sure.
Okay. And probably these are the questions. So advantages, phenomenal ability to give out a human-like language, English-like language, answering complex questions. And all these simple tasks, people write how to invest in real estate, how to invest in FD, what are the good restaurants in Pune. These questions are now, it can answer. It can answer very well. How to articles, homeworks, assignments, all these mundane, repetitive things where people have done that in past, it will do very well. Where does it not work? It is very sensitive to input phrasing. I use the word prompts. It is very sensitive to prompt. If you change the prompt a little bit, it may give you different answer. So very sensitive to input phrasing. Obviously, it cannot replace humans. People thought ChatGPT is answer to everything. Not so, because it is based on certain data, and that data, at least in this case, is little oldish data also. It has got a cutoff, I think somewhere in the 22. The corpus till that is only used for training. So beyond that also it does not understand. So there is a limitation, and it keeps what is called as hallucinating, meaning it gives answers very confidently, which are very wrong. So overconfident, and you don't know whether it's really true or not. So you have to really check. And there are a couple of cases you may know that it gave very wrong answer confidently. By the way, some people also do that, but anyway. So this is the summary. If you have not seen, probably you can see it. If you say my name and ChatGPT sketch note, will hit upon this sketch note, which summarizes whatever I've mentioned so far in a single page. What are the after effects of this ChatGPT phenomenon? Now people are contemplating, will it kill Google? Basically, will it kill Bing? So probably not. So ChatGPT, as we can see, it gives you one nice answer, isn't it? But Google has advantage also. Google gives you multiple answers or other links, but with source. ChatGPT, at least till now, does not give source where it got this information. And the source thing is very important because you want to authenticate where it got the information from. So Google has some source-wise advantage there. But Google has disadvantage. Why do I have to go to all these 10 links, find out answer? Give me ready answer. By the way, Google has also sort of started doing that in anything. So another thing is ChatGPT is built on little oldish data, but Google is runtime. I think every day they index the whole thing, very fresh answer. So in my opinion, uh, it won't be either or, but it will be and like system. You'll have links like answers to your question and one or two canned or ready answers. Like I think Bing is trying to do that. Bing preview is trying to do both. It will give you sources as well and a very ready answer as well. ChatGPT answer. By the way, Microsoft has invested in OpenAI, so it sort of owns some part of it also. So ChatGPT is getting integrated into Microsoft search engine called Bing, and that Bing preview is going on. Another very important question, will ChatGPT kill the jobs? Those who are writing how-to articles, probably they have to rethink. Those who are writing how to invest your money in FD or post office, those articles are going to get written by ChatGPT anyway. But if you are a little more innovative, of course, you are safe. It's just not loss of jobs that will happen. Some new jobs are going to come up. By the way, there is already an advertisement by a company called Anthropic for a prompt engineer, staff prompt engineer. The guy who writes very nice prompts so that answer comes out properly. And they're paying heavily, I think 150K USD and so. So new jobs will also come on the scene. How to write good prompts. So all is not lost. And a couple of slides more. Of course, there is hype. These are the guys who are talking good about ChatGPT. Elon Musk is saying ChatGPT is scary good. It is dangerously strong. And of course, few others are also there. But I will end with slightly non-positive note. This is the CEO of OpenAI saying that ChatGPT is incredibly limited. So don't depend on it too much. Get some reference, but have your own review. So don't rely it fully. That's about it. If you want to contact me, these are the things, but I will now take questions. Shweta, if you can help ask questions.
So we have 3-4 questions. So the first one is, what is 13 billion parameters used by ChatGPT? Any examples, and how is the data collected and modeled?
Okay. So there are actually 175 billion parameters. Imagine if you are familiar with neural networks. So neural networks has layers. So input nodes, multiple layers. And at each layer, some weights have to be calculated, right? So these weights and the example that we saw about income and education, so there were two parameters in that thing, or rather three, C, beta 0 and beta 1. So for that equation, there were three parameters. Now this architecture, GPT architecture, is so complex, it has 175 billion such weights, which have been calculated while doing training on the whole corpus. So that's how complex and powerful it is. And how it is collected, of course, sometimes it is scraping. Scraping means Wikipedia is anyway available as a text source. But if there are public websites, of course, I don't know what exactly OpenAI did, but scraping, meaning getting the web page down, getting the text out, it can be done programmatically. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the next question is, what are the factors that differentiates BERT and ChatGPT?
Correct. I would say GPT. ChatGPT is just application, conversational AI of GPT. If you remember BERT, so encoder-decoder that I mentioned, BERT is bidirectional encoder representation of transformer. So it is encoder. And GPT is primarily decoder set. So it is used for modeling, say, word vectors and then doing those things. And GPT is for generating. So these are two different sides of transformer architecture.
Okay. So the next question is from Vanna Luthra. Thanks for the enlightening insights. What will be implications of these for plagiarism copying? How will one detect if a person has used ChatGPT?
Perfect. So now I think we already have started seeing articles. By the way, I'm a writer on Medium also. There is the same discussion. The editors on Medium, like myself, submissions come to us and we just don't know whether it is written by a person or ChatGPT. By the way, now there are some techniques like watermarking, and OpenAI itself has come out with a ChatGPT detector. So it sort of predicts whether this article written is by ChatGPT or not. So such programs will also come in the picture. So plagiarism that you just mentioned, same thing, right? If it is written by the same guy or not, or it's stolen from somewhere. So those detectors will also come up.
So the next question is from Amit Babil. Can you please touch base on Bing? What advantages does it have?
Yeah. Bing preview is not, it's still preview. It is probably not open to all. You have to get invitation. So now Bing has, or rather integrating ChatGPT behind the scene. So when you type something as a query, like you do in Google, so not just links will come up, like normal Google links will come up, but it will answer via ChatGPT also and give you answer. If you ask the same question, which are the top 5 restaurants in Pune, it will give links. I'm assuming that's what the preview would do, restaurants, and it will give just list directly for Vaishali, Rupam, those things.
So we have a comment also in the chat box from Uday Kumar Patil. I have observed that ChatGPT is stuck sometimes. Also, it makes contrasting claims in same answer. And if we bring it to notice, it also apologizes.
Correct. So that kind of massaging it has done just to sound human-like. So it apologizes.
Yes.
By the way, it has got conversational ability. So you ask question, it gave answer, then you ask in the same context. Next question, it sort of remembers what was asked previously. So it maintains context. Yeah.
So there's a similar question, I think, which you have already covered, like how it deals with plagiarism while writing articles, since it does not give source. Yeah. And we had one participant raise her hand. If you could unmute yourself and if you want to ask a question, please. No, I think we have missed.
No problem.
Yeah, okay. Over to you, Prachi. Yeah, we have covered all the questions.
I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah.
By the way, if you want to reach me, I think that's what I mentioned here. You type my full name in Google, still Google, and then you'll get LinkedIn and then Medium links, and you can follow me. That's about it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kulkarni. It was a wonderful talk, a lot of information, and I think all our audience, including me, have far more, better understanding about what ChatGPT is and how it works. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation and joining for today's talk. Professor Kimbhavi, would you like to say something?
Really, if anybody has any questions, they might as well ask ChatGPT. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm irrelevant now, but it was really a very nice talk, and quite a lot was covered, and maybe someday we should convert it into a course.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So thank you very much, Yogesh, and we look forward to your visiting our capacity building programs again and again in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Kimberly and PKC for the opportunity again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the participants who came to the talk, and please do join us in the future too.
Thank you.
Yeah, if
So
everybody could please turn on your cameras for this.
Yeah, please turn on your cameras, and there is also a feedback link which is posted in the chat box. So kindly fill the feedback. It helps to improve our programs. What are the topics that you would like PKC to conduct sessions on and so on. So please fill up the feedback form. Yeah. I hope everyone's is there with the camera. Gayatri, are we ready for the?
Yes, Prachi, I'm taking the screenshots.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.